shadow of the unseen, the bus rattled along the dusty road, leaving behind the bustling towns and weaving deeper into the heart of Bengal's countryside. The monsoon had just ended, and the air was heavy with the smell of wet earth and the faint sweetness of ripened paddy. Dark clouds still hovered above, and the occasional rumble of thunder echoed far away. Arjun sat by the window, staring at the swaying trees and narrow mud paths that forked away from the main road. He was 27, a writer by passion and a teacher by profession, though his friends often joked that he carried the temperament of both a poet and a wanderer. His notebook lay open on his lap, but his pen hadn't moved in the last half hour. This was not just another journey for him. He was going to Kushinagar, a remote village most city people had never even heard of. His grandmother had once spoken of this village, of strange rituals and tales whispered under oil lamps. Recently, he had stumbled upon an old letter from her belongings, written in a hurried hand. If ever you go to Kushinagar, beware the eyes that shine in the dark. They are not human. The words had haunted him for weeks. Driven by curiosity and his hunger for stories, he finally decided to travel there. The bus stopped at a broken milestone, and the conductor shouted, "Kushinagar, last stop." Arjun got down, clutching his backpack and notebook. The road ahead was empty, stretching into fields and dense bamboo groves. A cool breeze rustled the leaves, but the village itself seemed unnaturally quiet. The first encounter. As Arjun walked into the village, he noticed the houses, mostly mud-walled, with straw roofs and wooden doors. The air was thick with silence. Children weren't playing. Women weren't gossiping in courtyards. Only a few old men sat under a banyan tree, their eyes following him with quiet suspicion. "Baba, are you from the city?" one of them finally asked, his voice raspy. "Yes," Arjun replied politely. "I'm here to learn about your village, about its history." The old man exchanged glances with the others. One spat into the dust and muttered, "History brings danger, especially if you dig too deep." Before Arjun could respond, a tall man approached. He was in his 40s, with sharp eyes and a well-built frame. "You must be Arjun Babu," he asked. "I'm Hari, the schoolteacher here. I received your letter." Arjun felt relief. He had written to the local school, hoping someone would help him settle in. Hari smiled faintly and led him toward his house, though his steps were heavy, as if burdened with unspoken worries. Inside, Arjun was offered tea. The walls of Hari's home were lined with books and old photographs, a rare sight in such a village. "You've chosen a strange place for your research," Hari said after a pause. "People don't usually come here unless they're bound by blood or curse." Arjun leaned forward. "I came because of an old family letter. My grandmother wrote about this place, and something about red eyes in the dark." At once, the room fell into silence. Hari's wife, who had been pouring tea, froze. She quickly placed the cups down and left the room. Hari's eyes darkened. "Not everything is meant to be written, Arjun Babu," he said softly. "But since you are here, you will see for yourself." The eyes returned. Near midnight, Arjun sat by the window, watching the shadows dance in the flickering lamp. The silence was heavy, almost suffocating. Then it came again, the wailing sound, closer this time, like a woman crying in unbearable pain. Against Hari's warning, Arjun slipped out of the house, notebook in hand. The air was cold, and the wind carried a foul, metallic stench. And then he saw them again. The red eyes, they were brighter now, burning like embers in the darkness. But this time he saw more, a tall, gaunt figure standing at the edge of the field. Its face was hidden, but its presence radiated malice. Arjun's pen slipped from his fingers. His body felt paralyzed, as though invisible chains bound him. The figure began to move toward him, each step slow, deliberate. The wailing grew louder, now joined by whispers that seemed to come from every direction. Suddenly, a bell rang, loud, sharp, echoing across the village. The figure stopped, the eyes flickered, and with a gust of wind, it vanished. Hari appeared, holding a brass bell in his hand. His face was pale with fear. "You fool," he shouted. "You've drawn its attention. Once it chooses you, there is no escape." Arjun's heart raced. What does it want? Hurry's voice was barely audible. Blood. Always blood. The whispering night. That night, Arjun stayed in Hurry's guest room. The crickets chirped outside, and the occasional bark of a stray dog echoed through the stillness. But there was something else too, a low, mournful sound, almost like a wail, drifting from the direction of fields. Unable to sleep, Arjun stepped outside. The moon was hidden behind clouds, and the fields looked like endless shadows. Then he saw it. Two faint, glowing dots hovering near the edge of the trees. They were not lanterns, not fireflies, but eyes, blood-red eyes. His breath caught in his throat. The glowing orb stared back at him, unblinking. The longer he looked, the more he felt an invisible force pressing on his chest. A chill ran through his spine. Suddenly, a hand gripped his shoulder. It was Hari. "Go inside now," he whispered urgently. Arjun obeyed, his heart pounding. Hari bolted the door and lit an oil lamp. "What was that?" Arjun asked, trembling. Hari's face was grim. "You have seen what we fear. The villagers call the Rakto Chaku Pishash, the blood-eyed demon. It comes at night, and those who meet its gaze do not live to tell the tale. The forbidden tale." The next day, Arjun tried to ask the villagers about the demon. Most refused to speak. Some walked away. Others muttered prayers under their breath. But one old woman, her back bent with age, beckoned him closer. "You remind me of your grandmother," she whispered. "She came here many years ago, searching for answers. But the answers cost her dearly." Arjun's pulse quickened. "You knew her?" The woman nodded. She saw the red eyes too. And after that, her nights were never peaceful. The demon does not forget those who see it. Before he could ask more, her daughter dragged her away, scolding her for speaking too much. Confused and restless, Arjun spent the day wandering the fields. He noticed strange signs. Trees with claw-like scratches, patches of earth blackened as if by fire, and small shrines at every corner, smeared with vermilion and offerings of rice. Fear was woven into the very soil of Kashinagar. That evening, Hari warned him, "Do not leave the house after dark, no matter what you hear, no matter what you see." But Arjun was not a man to be easily contained. His writer's mind craved the unknown, and something deep inside told him that this demon was more than just a village myth. The rooster crowed before dawn, but the sound did not bring the usual freshness of a new day. Instead, it echoed across the silent courtyards like a warning. Arjun woke up to find Hari already sitting on the porch, staring at the fog that clung to the fields. His face looked older, wearier, as though the events of the night had drained years from him. Arjun rubbed his eyes. Did that really happen last night? The eyes, a figure? Hari didn't answer immediately. He sipped from a clay cup of black tea, his hands trembling. Finally, he said, "It happened, and it will keep happening. Once the demon marks you, it won't leave." A cold weight settled in Arjun's stomach. He wanted to argue, to tell himself that what he had seen was a trick of his mind. But the memory of those glowing red eyes, unblinking, full of hunger, was too real to dismiss. Hari stood and tightened his shawl around his shoulders. "Come with me. There's something you need to see." The mark on the fields. They walked out into the misty fields. Dew glistened on the tall stalks of paddy, but here and there, patches of the crop were flattened as though something heavy had dragged across them. When they reached the far end of the field, Arjun stopped dead in his tracks. On the damp earth lay a dark stain, still fresh, its metallic scent unmistakable. Blood. The soil was soaked with it, forming a crooked trail that led toward the bamboo grove. Birds circled above, cawing loudly, as though disturbed by something unnatural. Hari bent down, touching the stain with his fingers. "Another animal," he muttered. "Last week it was goats. Before that, a cow. But this," he shook his head. This is too much blood for a goat. Arjun swallowed hard. So the villagers lose livestock to this demon? Hari's eyes darkened. Livestock, yes, but sometimes people too. Arjun felt his throat tighten. He glanced at the grove, half expecting to see those red eyes staring back. The silence pressed on his ears. For the first time, he realized the true scale of what he had walked into. The villagers' fear. When they returned, the village was already buzzing with hushed voices. A crowd had gathered near the banyan tree. A young boy lay on the ground, his body limp, his mother wailing beside him. His shirt was torn, and his small chest bore 3 deep gashes that looked like claw marks. Arjun's heart dropped. The child's eyes were half open, but lifeless. An old priest in a saffron dhoti sprinkled holy water and muttered mantras, but no one looked convinced. The villagers stood in silence, some clutching talismans, others making protective signs with their fingers. Arjun whispered to Hari, "How could this happen? A child." Hari's jaw tightened. The demon has grown bolder. It hunts not just at night now, but even in the hours before dawn. The boy's body was soon taken away and the villagers dispersed, but their faces carried an expression that Arjun would never forget, a mix of terror and resignation, as if they had accepted that death was no longer a stranger but a daily guest. The Council of Elders. Later that day, Hari took Arjun to meet the village council. 5 elders sat cross-legged in a mud-walled room, lit only by a single oil lamp. Their faces were lined with age, their eyes deep pools of secrets. One of them, the oldest, spoke first. "Why have you come here, city man? Do you not know that curiosity feeds a demon?" Arjun forced himself to remain calm. "I came because my grandmother once rode to this village. She saw something here, something about red eyes. I need to understand what she meant." The elders exchanged uneasy glances. Finally, the oldest leaned forward. His voice was low, but heavy with meaning. "There is an old story," he began. "Long ago, this land was cursed. A man betrayed the sacred laws, spilling blood where none should have been spilled. From his sin, the demon was born, its eyes forever red with the memory of that blood. It cannot be killed, only contained. And even that, only with great sacrifice." Arjun's pulse quickened. What kind of sacrifice? The elder shook his head. "Do not ask. The less you know, the longer you will live." Hari placed a hand on Arjun's shoulder, signaling him to stop questioning. The conversation ended there, but the words burned into Arjun's mind. A curse, a blood-born demon, a sacrifice, the hidden ritual. That evening, Arjun noticed the villagers preparing for something. Women carried trays of rice and flowers to the small shrines scattered across the village. Men dug small pits and lit fires, chanting in low voices. He asked Hari what was happening. "It is the night of Amavasya, the dark moon," Hari explained grimly. "On such nights, the demon is strongest. We offer prayers, hoping it will pass us by." The atmosphere was suffocating. Every corner smelled of burning incense and mustard oil. Children were kept indoors. Doors were bolted, and not a single light was left unguarded. But as the night deepened, Arjun's unease grew. He couldn't shake the memory of the child's lifeless body, nor the blood on the fields. If this ritual truly worked, why did the killings continue? The cry in the bamboo grove. Near midnight, The ritual reached its peak. Drums beat slowly, echoing through the village. Priests chanted mantras in unison, their voices rising with every strike of the drum. Then a sound pierced the night, a scream. It came from the direction of the bamboo grove. High-pitched, agonized, unmistakably human. The chanting faltered. The drumming stopped. For a moment, the entire village froze. Then chaos erupted. Women crying, men shouting, some rushing with torches toward the grove. Arjun's instincts pushed him to follow. Hari tried to stop him, but he broke free and ran with the crowd. His feet pounded the earth, heart racing, mind filled with dread. When they reached the grove, the sight before them turned as blood cold. A man lay sprawled on the ground, his chest torn open, his lifeblood staining the earth. His eyes were wide, frozen in terror. Around him, the bamboo swayed violently, though there was no wind. And then, just beyond the flickering torchlight, the red eyes appeared. They glowed brighter than before, fixed upon the crowd. A low growl rumbled through the grove, vibrating the very ground beneath their feet. The torches flickered, and many dropped them in fear. "Back! Back!" the priest shouted, ringing a brass bell frantically. The villagers retreated, dragging the dead man's body with them. The eyes lingered for a moment longer, then vanished into the darkness. Arjun stood frozen, his legs weak. He had seen death before, but nothing like this. The demon was real, and it was hunting. Marked by the demon. Back at Hari's house, the villagers whispered that the demon had chosen its next victim, that once someone saw the red eyes, their fate was sealed. Arjun tried to dismiss it, but when he looked in the mirror that night, he saw something that made his blood run cold. On his neck, faint but visible, were 3 dark scratches. He had not felt them happen. He had no idea when they appeared. But there they were, marks that hadn't been there before. Hari's face went pale when he saw them. "It has touched you," he whispered. "The curse has begun." Arjun felt a chill spread through his body. He wanted to believe it was just a coincidence, just a scratch from a branch in the grove. But deep down he knew the truth. The blood-eyed demon had chosen him. The next morning, the village was shrouded in dread. Women drew chalk symbols outside their huts. Men whispered prayers under their breath, and children were kept hidden indoors. The body of the man slain in the bamboo grove had been burned before sunrise, not buried. Hari explained that burial was forbidden for such deaths. Fire was the only way to keep the demon from claiming the soul. Arjun watched the smoke curl into the sky, carrying the scent of burnt flesh. His stomach turned, but more than that, he felt a growing sense of responsibility. He had come here searching for a story, but now he was part of it, entangled in a curse he didn't understand. The scratches on his neck burned faintly, as if reminding him that he was marked. Whispers of the children. Later that day, Arjun wandered near the edge of the village. A group of children were playing with marbles in the dust, though their laughter was hushed and their movements cautious. When they saw him, they stopped abruptly. One little boy, braver than the rest, pointed at Arjun's neck. "The demon touched you," he whispered. Arjun crouched down, trying to smile. "Do you know what it is?" he asked gently. The boy's eyes widened. "It lives in the trees. My uncle said its teeth are long like knives, and if it looks at you, you have to run, but not too fast, or it will follow you home." The other children shushed him, pulling him away. Their faces were pale with fear, far too young to carry such heavy knowledge. Arjun stood up slowly. The innocence of the village had already been poisoned by this presence. Even children knew the shape of death here. Hari's revelation. That night, Arjun confronted Hari. I need the truth. You've been hiding something from me. My grandmother came here. What happened to her? Hari hesitated, then sighed deeply. He poured himself a glass of water, his hand shaking. Your grandmother was a strong woman, braver than most men I've met. She came here nearly 40 years ago, searching for the same answers you are. She asked too many questions, walked too far into the fields, and one night she saw the eyes. Arjun's heart thudded. She survived, though. I grew up with her. Yes, Hari said softly, but survival is not freedom. From that day on, she was never the same. Nightmares plagued her. She spoke in her sleep, warning of blood and fire. And when she finally died, she begged us not to bury her body in Kashinagar's soil. Arjun felt a chill. He remembered his grandmother's restless nights, the way she often stared into empty corners of the room as though watching something only she could see. She was marked, Hari said grimly, just as you are now. The storm. That evening, heavy clouds gathered over the village. The air grew dense, and the sky split open with lightning. The villagers rushed indoors, bolting doors and windows, leaving the streets empty. Arjun sat near the window, notebook open, trying to capture every detail. But his hand trembled too much to write. Every crash of thunder sounded like the growl he had heard in the grove. Every flash of lightning painted shadows across the fields that looked like gaunt figures waiting to pounce. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. Not once, but 3 slow, deliberate knocks. Arjun froze. Hari's wife gasped, clutching her prayer beads. Hari motioned for silence. The knock came again, louder this time. Rain pounded the roof. Wind howled through the cracks. But the knocks were steady, almost mocking. Then a voice, a woman's voice, muffled but clear. Open the door. I'm cold. Arjun's blood ran cold. The voice was familiar, eerily so. It sounded like his grandmother. He looked at Hari in shock, but Hari's face was grim. Do not answer. Do not listen. It takes the voices of those you love to draw you out. The voice called again, more desperate. Arjun, my child, let me in. His chest tightened. He wanted to believe it, wanted to fling the door open. But Hari grabbed his arm with a grip like iron. Minutes passed, the knocking ceased, and the voice faded into storm. Arjun collapsed into his chair, drenched in sweat. He realized then how cunning the demon was. It wasn't just a beast, but something that could weave illusions, burrow into the deepest corners of the mind. The forbidden manuscript. The storm passed by dawn, leaving the village drenched and heavy with silence. Hari told Arjun to stay indoors, but his curiosity had grown unbearable. He sneaked into the small temple at the village center, where he had noticed a locked wooden chest the previous day. Breaking the lock, he found a bundle of old palm leaf manuscripts, brittle with age. The script was faded but legible. It told the story of a priest who had once betrayed the gods. He had performed a ritual with human sacrifice, spilling blood on sacred ground. From that blood, the demon was born, bound to the soil of Kashinagar forever. The manuscript described the demon's hunger. It drinks the fear of man and the blood of the innocent. Its eyes burn with the memory of the first sin. It shall pass from one generation to the next, until the debt of blood is repaid. Arjun's hands shook as he read. At the end, A line was scrawled in red ink. The demon cannot be slain, only chained. And to chain it, blood must answer blood. Before he could read further, he heard footsteps. He hurriedly hid the manuscript back inside the chest and slipped out. But he knew now, the villagers weren't just hiding from the demon. They were guardians of a secret, one tied to sacrifice. The second victim. That night, another scream tore through the village. This time, it was closer, coming from the house just 2 doors away from Hurry's. Arjun and Hari rushed out with the others. Inside the hut, they found a young woman sprawled across the floor, her hair matted with blood. Her eyes had been gouged out, leaving 2 empty sockets that still bled. The villagers wailed. Some fainted. Others cursed under their breath. Arjun felt bile rise in his throat. He had never seen such cruelty. On the wall of the hut, scrawled in what looked like blood, were 2 crude symbols of eyes, round and red. The demon had left its mark. Hari pulled Arjun away before he could collapse. "Do you see now?" he whispered fiercely. "This is not just a haunting. It is a message, and you are part of it now." Arjun's legs shook. He wanted to run, to flee the village, but he knew deep inside there was no escape. The scratches on his neck burned hotter than ever, as if mocking his weakness. The oath. That same night, the village elders gathered once more. Their voices rose in heated argument, though Arjun could only catch fragments. The killings grow closer. He will bring doom upon us. The blood must be paid or we all die. Finally, the eldest turned to Arjun. His eyes were sharp, unforgiving. "You should never have come here. Your grandmother brought the curse once, and now you have awoken it again." Arjun's voice shook, but he forced himself to speak. "Then tell me how to stop it." The elder's silence stretched for what felt like eternity. Then he said, "There is only one way. The chain must be forged again, and chains are made with blood." The words echoed in Arjun's mind. He did not fully understand, but he knew one thing. The demon was no longer just a story. It was real, and it was hunting him. And the village was preparing to sacrifice, perhaps him, to chain it once more. Never slept again. Since the woman's death, the air was soaked in fear, heavy like smoke that refused to clear. By day, the people spoke in whispers, and by night, they dared not breathe too loudly, as if the demon might hear. The shrines multiplied, tiny mud platforms with oil lamps and vermilion, cluttering every corner. But the flames flickered weakly, no match for the shadows that grew longer each night. Arjun had stopped counting the scratches on his neck. They had multiplied, faint at first, but darker each morning. Sometimes he woke to find blood on his pillow, though he never felt the cuts being made. Hari grew more grim with every passing hour. His wife no longer spoke at all, muttering prayers under her breath like a broken record. It was on the 3rd night after the young woman's death that the cries began. At first it sounded like a baby wailing, thin and distant. Arjun bolted upright in bed, his heart pounding. He knew no child lived nearby. The villagers had locked all their children indoors, yet the cry grew louder, sharper, until it seemed to come from just outside his window. He pressed himself against the wall, staring through the cracks. The night was pitch black, the moon veiled behind clouds. And then he saw them, 2 small figures standing in the courtyard, shadows in the dark. They looked like children, one holding the other's hand. The cry stopped. Slowly, both figures turned their heads toward his window. The red eyes flared. Arjun stumbled backward, his legs buckling. The door burst open, and Hari rushed in, holding a brass bell. He rang it violently, chanting under his breath. By the time Arjun looked again, the courtyard was empty. "They're not children," Hari hissed, sweat pouring down his face. "They never are. The demon plays with your heart before it devours you." Arjun sat trembling on the floor. For the first time, he realized the demon didn't just kill. It toyed with its prey, weaving illusions to weaken their minds. The village in mourning. By morning, the village had another death to grieve. An old man had been found in his hut, his face twisted in terror, his body untouched but lifeless. There were no wounds, no blood, only his eyes frozen wide. Blood vessels burst, as if he'd seen something no human should ever see. The priest declared it a soul death. The demon, he said, could take not only flesh but also spirit, leaving behind an empty shell. The villagers carried the body to the river and let it drift away, afraid even to burn it. Arjun watched silently, his mind swirling with questions. How did one fight something that preyed on both body and soul? Nights, Arjun stopped sleeping. Every time he closed his eyes, he heard whispers, dozens of voices, male and female, young and old, all murmuring his name. Sometimes they laughed, sometimes they screamed. Once, he woke with a sensation of cold fingers brushing against his cheek, only to find himself alone in the dark. His notebook was filled with frantic scribbles now, fragments of the legend, half-remembered dreams, and drawings of the eyes that haunted him. He barely recognized his own handwriting. It looked desperate, unstable, almost possessed. Hari begged him to rest, but Arjun snapped, "How can I rest when it's watching me every second? Do you think prayers will save us? This thing feeds on fear and we're drowning in it." Hari said nothing. His silence spoke louder than words. The demon's face. On the seventh night, the demon revealed more of itself. The villagers had gathered in the temple for a night-long prayer, hoping to ward off its presence. Arjun sat near the doorway, his mind buzzing, his heart heavy. The chanting filled the air, steady and rhythmic. For the first time in days, there was a fragile sense of unity. Then the oil lamps flickered. One by one, they went out, plunging the temple into darkness. The chanting faltered, replaced by hurried whispers. A low growl rose from the doorway. Arjun froze. His body felt chained, but his eyes, his cursed eyes, were drawn to the figure standing in the shadows. The demon stepped forward. It was taller than any man, its limbs impossibly long, its skin stretched tight like dried leather. Its face was half hidden in shadow, but the eyes, those burning red orbs, lit up the temple like fire. And beneath them, Arjun glimpsed rows of jagged teeth, glistening with blood. A woman screamed, the sound breaking the spell. The villagers panicked, some collapsing, others rushing toward the back door. The priests rang bells furiously, chanting louder, their voices cracking with fear. The demon growled again, shaking the walls. Then its gaze fell on Arjun. The world around him blurred. The chants became distant, the screams muffled. All he could see were those eyes, pulling him deeper, deeper, as though his very soul was being sucked out. He felt his body rise without his will, as if invisible strings controlled him. His feet left the ground. His lungs burned, his vision dimmed. "Arjun!" Hari's voice pierced the fog. A hand grabbed his arm, yanking him back. The spell broke. He fell hard onto the temple floor, gasping for breath. The demon let out a roar so powerful that the lamps reignited in a burst of flame. Shadows twisted, and with a final flash of its burning eyes, it vanished into the night. Silence followed. Only the sound of Arjun's ragged breathing filled the temple. The curse deepens. After the encounter, Arjun's condition worsened. The scratches on his neck now glowed faintly red in the dark. He felt heat pulsing through his veins, as if something foreign was spreading inside him. Hari looked at him with both pity and fear. It is inside you now. The longer you stay, the stronger it grows. Arjun gripped Hari's arm. Then tell me how to stop it. Don't hide the truth anymore. Hari hesitated, then whispered, stopping it requires sacrifice. Always sacrifice. That is why the villagers are so afraid. They know the price. Arjun's mind reeled. Whose sacrifice? His? Another's? The thought gnawed at him. But before he could ask more, the temple bell rang again. Another cry had risen in the night. The nights grew longer, stretching like an endless tunnel with no dawn at the end. Each sunset was a sentence, each hour of darkness a torment. By the third week, the cries had become constant. Sometimes the wailing of a baby, sometimes the scream of a dying man, sometimes the soft sobs of a woman who sounded eerily like someone the villagers had once known. The cries didn't just echo outside. They seeped into walls, into dreams, into the bones of everyone who heard them. There was no escape, no silence. One by one, families began to abandon their huts. Some fled to distant towns. Others disappeared into forests, never to return. The once bustling village became a hollow shell, half its houses empty, its wells untouched, its fields unharvested. Fear was the only crop still growing. Arjun wrote everything down, though his hands trembled with every word. His journal was no longer the record of a curious traveler. It had become a confession, a desperate attempt to cling to reason while the world slipped into madness. The child by the river. On the 12th night, Arjun wandered near the river, drawn by the sound of soft laughter. Against his better judgment, he followed it, clutching a lantern. A child sat on the riverbank, its back turned, shoulders shaking as though it were crying. Arjun's heart clenched. Every instinct screamed for him to run, but another voice whispered, what if it's real? What if the demon hasn't touched this one yet? He stepped closer. Are you lost? He asked, his voice barely audible over the rushing current. The child stopped sobbing. Slowly it turned. The face was pale, featureless, like melted wax. Where eyes should have been, two raw, bleeding holes stared back at him. Arjun staggered, his lantern dropping into the mud. The figure opened its mouth, and the cries of 100 voices burst forth. Babies, women, men, all screaming at once. Before Arjun could move, strong arms pulled him back. Hari dragged him to the ground, clutching a talisman of iron and chanting frantically. The figure collapsed into the river with a splash, dissolving into black smoke that drifted across the water. Hari's face was pale, his voice hoarse. It's not only hunting you, it's trying to wear your soul down. It won't stop until you're too weak to resist. Arjun shivered. He realized then that the demon was no mere hunter. It was a tormentor, feeding on his terror until the final feast. Possession. The first attempt came the following night. Arjun had been dozing in Hari's hut when he woke to find himself standing in the courtyard, barefoot, his body moving without his will. His arms hung limp, yet his legs walked forward as if guided by invisible hands. In the distance, he saw a figure standing at the edge of the fields, tall, skeletal, with burning eyes fixed on him. He tried to scream, but no sound left his mouth. His body kept walking, step after step, toward the figure. Inside his skull, a voice hissed, low and guttural, "You are mine. You carried me here. You will feed me." Arjun's vision blurred. The ground beneath him rippled like black water. He felt himself sinking, drowning, suffocating. Then, clang! Hari struck a bell right beside his ear, the sound slicing through the fog. Arjun collapsed to the ground, gasping, his body is on again. Hari leaned over him, fury in his eyes. "You cannot leave this hut alone. Do you hear me? The moment you step out, it will take you." Arjun trembled, tears welling in his eyes. "I can't fight it. It's inside me. I feel it growing stronger every day." Hari's silence was answer enough. The hidden truth. The next morning, Arjun cornered Hari, refusing to let him turn away. "Tell me the truth about this curse." No more half answers. Hari looked broken, but he finally spoke. The demon was bound long ago, not destroyed, only contained. The curse is blood. Whoever sees it, whoever survives its gaze, becomes its vessel. That is why it marks you. That is why you bleed. Arjun touched the glowing cuts on his neck. "So I'm already chosen?" Hari nodded. "Unless the binding is renewed. But to renew it requires a life." Arjun's stomach turned cold. Whose life? Hari's eyes dropped to the floor. The vessel's, or another's willingly given in their place. The weight of the words crashed down on him. Sacrifice. That was the price. Either he would die to bind the demon again, or someone else would have to take his place, surrendering their life to contain the horror. Arjun recoiled. "That's why the villagers let me stay. That's why they didn't warn me. They were waiting. They needed someone to offer." Hari's face twisted with shame. "It was never my choice. But yes, they knew." Cries louder than ever. That night, the cries reached their peak. The village echoed with sound so human, so real, that even the strongest believers faltered. Some villagers ran into the dark, convinced their lost loved ones were calling them, only to vanish without trace. The temple bell rang all night, its frantic clang the only barrier between the living and the demon's grasp. Arjun sat in the corner of the hut, gripping his notebook like a weapon. His mind raced. Was this all fated? Was he doomed to die? Or could he find another way? But deep down he knew. The scratches burned hotter each night, glowing like fresh wounds. The demon wasn't just hunting him. It was already inside him, rooting itself deeper, waiting for the final act. And if no sacrifice was made, the entire village would fall. The final cry. Near dawn, the cry stopped abruptly. The silence was heavier than the screams. Every villager left alive gathered in the temple courtyard, exhausted, eyes hollow. The priest announced in a trembling voice, "The time has come. The demon will not relent. The curse must be bound again." Every eye turned to Arjun. He felt their stares like knives in his flesh. He wasn't a guest anymore. He was an offering. Hari stood beside him, trembling. For the first time, Arjun saw the truth in his eyes. Not only fear, but also guilt sorrow, and a strange kind of resolve. The priest raised his staff. The sacrifice must be made before the next moon rises. If not, this land will be ash. Arjun's throat tightened. He realized that his story had only just begun. The morning sun rose blood red, staining the clouds like a wound across the sky. To Arjun, it looked less like dawn and more like a warning. The villagers moved silently, their faces pale, their voices hushed. No laughter, no market chatter, no children playing. Only the sound of shuffling feet and whispered prayers. By midday, the temple courtyard was alive with activity. Not joyous activity, but grim purpose. Men carried bundles of wood, women fetched jars of oil, and the priest directed them with sharp gestures. A pyre was being built, not for the dead, but for the living. Arjun stood apart, watching in horror. Every strike of a hammer, every creak of wood, felt like a nail in his coffin. Hari placed a hand on his shoulder. "Do not watch," he said softly. Arjun snapped, his voice hoarse. "How can I not? They are building my death, Hari." Hari didn't answer. His silence was heavier than words. The binding ground. By evening, the priest led Arjun and Hari to a clearing outside the village, a circle of blackened stones where grass refused to grow. The air there was thick, heavy with an invisible weight. Arjun shivered as soon as he stepped inside. It felt like walking into the breath of the demon itself. "This is where it was first bound," the priest explained, his tone reverent and fearful at once. "The circle holds its power, but only with blood will it seal again." Arjun scanned the stones. Each one was etched with strange markings, warm but still faintly glowing. He felt the carvings pulse as if alive, as if they were hungry. His heart pounded. So this is it. This is where I die. The bargain of survival. That night, Arjun sat in Hari's hut, unable to sleep. The cries had returned, softer but more insistent, like whispers slipping through cracks in the walls. They called his name now. Arjun, Arjun. He clamped his hands over his ears, but the voices were inside him. His own voice answered in the dark. "I don't want to die." Hari stirred beside the fire, eyes heavy but alert. "No one does." Arjun's voice cracked. "There has to be another way. Something we've missed. Some ritual, some offering that isn't my life." Hari's jaw clenched. He didn't look at him. "You think I haven't searched? For years I've carried this curse, waiting for the day it returned. I prayed, I studied, I begged the gods for another path. There is none." Arjun's throat tightened. "So you're telling me my only choice is death?" Hari's eyes finally met his. They were full of anguish, but beneath that, a flicker of something else, determination. "No, I'm telling you I won't let them take you." Arjun blinked. "What do you mean?" Hari didn't answer. He only stared into the fire, his face grim, as if sealing a decision he couldn't speak aloud. The demon's warning. Just before dawn, Arjun dreamt, or thought he dreamt. He was standing in the field of stones again, the pyre towering above him, but the villagers were gone. Only the demon stood there, tall and gaunt, its eyes two burning pits of blood. It didn't roar. It didn't scream. It whispered, and the sound was worse than any cry. "Why do you let them chain you, Arjun? Why do you accept their lies?" Arjun's chest heaved. "You want me dead?" The demon tilted its head, its skeletal face unreadable. "Dead? No, I want you alive. You are mine, a vessel, a doorway. Why would I destroy my own path? Arjun stumbled back, shaking. Then why the sacrifice? The demon's laughter was like dry bones rattling. Because they fear me, because they are cowards. But you could walk away. You could be more than their offering. Take my hand, and I will give you freedom. A long, clawed hand stretched toward him. Arjun froze. A strange heat pulsed in his chest, and for a heartbeat, the offer felt real. Freedom, power, life. Then Hari's voice pierced a dream, distant but firm. Arjun! Wake up! Arjun jolted upright, gasping, his body drenched in sweat. Hari knelt beside him, eyes fierce. It's inside your dreams now. You must not listen. Arjun shivered. It said it doesn't want me dead. It wants me alive for itself. Hari's face darkened. Then we are running out of time. The village's verdict. That evening, the villagers gathered. The priest raised his staff, his voice solemn. Tomorrow night, the ritual will be done. The demon grows impatient, and we can delay no longer. The vessel has been chosen. The blood must be spilled. A murmur swept through the crowd. Eyes turned to Arjun, not with malice, but with resignation. He wasn't a person to them anymore. He was a tool, a sacrifice, a means to keep their home safe. Arjun clenched his fists. The firelight flickered across his face, shadows deepening the fury in his eyes. Hari stepped forward suddenly. There must be another way. The priest gazed hardened. Would you endanger us all, Hari? The curse demands blood. Without it, the village dies. Hari's jaw tightened. Then perhaps the village is not worth saving. Gasps rippled through the crowd. The priest's staff struck the ground. Enough! Tomorrow the blood will flow. This is not a debate. The villagers dispersed, leaving only Arjun and Hari in the fading light. Arjun's voice shook. Hari, what are you planning? Hari turned to him, eyes blazing with a mixture of fear and resolve. Something that will damn me forever, but it may save you. The night before, the last night before the ritual, was the longest of Arjun's life. He sat outside the hut, staring at the moon. It looked swollen, heavy, almost crimson. Every rustle in the trees made his heart lurch. The cries had ceased. That silence was worse than the screams. It meant the demon was waiting, watching. Hari returned just before midnight, his clothes stained with earth, his hands trembling. He said nothing, only sat beside Arjun, staring at the ground. Finally, Arjun whispered, "Are you afraid?" Hari let out a bitter laugh. Terrified, but fear means we're still alive. Remember that. They sat together in silence, the air heavy with unspoken truths. Somewhere deep inside, Arjun knew tomorrow would not end with a ritual the villagers expected. Something far darker was coming. The village square was silent as a graveyard. Only the torches flickered, painting the faces of the villagers in trembling orange light. The pyre had been raised in the black stone circle, its wooden frame towering like a skeleton against the night sky. The priest stood before it, robes flowing, staff in hand. His voice echoed like thunder. Tonight, the blood will bind. Tonight, the curse will end. The villagers repeated the chant, their voices low and uneven, like a storm about to break. The offering. Arjun was led forward by two men. His wrists were bound with rope, rough and cutting into his skin. His legs shook, but he forced himself to walk. His eyes searched the crowd desperately. Mothers clutched their children. Men bowed their heads. Not one person met his gaze. He was not Arjun anymore. He was the offering. When they reached the pyre, the priest raised a knife, long, curved, glinting under the torchlight. By this blood we bind the demon. By this flesh we seal the curse. Arjun's breath came in short gasps. The blade caught the firelight, burning like a star. And then he saw Hari, standing at the edge of the circle, eyes blazing, fists clenched. Hari's defiance. The priest raised his knife higher, chanting faster. The villagers swayed, their voices rising. The air thickened, the stones at the circle's edge pulsing red as though drinking the words. And then a voice cut through the chant. No! Hari stepped into the circle. His shadow stretched long against the firelight. This sacrifice is a lie. The crowd gasped. The priest's chant faltered. His eyes narrowed. Hari, do not defy the gods. There are no gods here. Hari spat. Only fear in your knife. The priest's face turned red with fury. You dare! Hari's voice thundered. I dare because I know the truth. The curse was never bound by sacrifice. It was bound by blood, but not the blood of the innocent. The crowd murmured, confusion rippling like a wave. Arjun stared at Hari, his voice trembling. Hari, what are you saying? Hari didn't answer. He pulled something from beneath his cloak, a bundle wrapped in cloth. He opened it, revealing an old book, its pages black with strange ink, its cover scarred by fire. The priest's eyes widened in horror. You kept it? Hari's lips curved into a grim smile. Yes, the book of the first ritual. The truth you buried. The hidden history. Hari's voice rang out, every word heavy as iron. Generations ago, when the demon first rose, it was not an innocent who sealed it. It was a guardian, a blood bond, forged by one who chose to bear the curse willingly. The blood of the marked, not the unmarked, bound the beast. Gasps rose from the villagers. The priest's face twisted with rage. Lies, he roared. Blasphemy. But Hari's voice grew louder, cutting him down. No, priest, you hid the truth because you were afraid. Afraid to tell them that one of us must carry the curse forever, passing it from blood to blood. You chose sacrifice instead, easy deaths year after year, while you called it salvation. The villagers murmured in shock, their faith cracking like dry earth. Arjun's heart hammered. His mind reeled. Hari, if that's true, then... Hari's eyes locked on his, burning with resolve. Then it was never meant to be you, Arjun. It was always meant to be me. The blood oath. Before anyone could move, Hari drew a dagger from his belt and slashed his own palm. Blood dripped onto the stones, sizzling as though the earth itself drank it. The circle blazed red. The ground shook. A roar split the air, deep and terrible. The villagers screamed. The priest stumbled back, his staff trembling. Fool, you've awakened it. From the shadows beyond the circle, the demon rose. Taller than the trees, its body a twisted shape of smoke and bone, its eyes glowing like rivers of blood. Its scream was a sound that tore the air, shattering torches, rattling bones. Arjun fell to his knees, his soul quaking. The demon's voice thundered. At last, the blood of the marked. It reached forward with claws like spears, not for Arjun, but for Hari. The break of chains. Hari stood firm, blood dripping from his hand. You will not take him. You will take me. The demon's laugh shook the stones. You think you choose? You were chosen long before your birth. You carry my mark, my chain. You are mine, Hari. Arjun cried out, straining against his bonds. Hari, don't do this. Hari turned, his face fierce but calm. Arjun, listen to me. This was always my path. I've carried this curse since the night my parents died. Every dream, every whisper, it was meant for me, not you. Tears stung Arjun's eyes. No, there has to be another way. Hari's smile was soft, almost peaceful. Sometimes the only way to end the curse is to embrace it. The demon's claws wrapped around him, lifting him from the ground. The villagers scattered in terror, screaming into the night. But Hari didn't fight. He spread his arms wide, blood dripping down his skin, his voice strong. I bind you with my blood, as the first guardian did. You will not have this village. You will not have Arjun. You will have only me. The demon roared, its body riding like fire and smoke. The stones glowed white hot. The circle blazed, a cage of light. The shattering. The priest fell to his knees, his chant forgotten, his eyes wide in terror. It cannot be. He's doing it. Arjun struggled his feet, ripping his bonds against the sharp stones. Blood ran down his wrist, but he didn't care. He stumbled toward the circle, screaming, Hari! Hari's voice rang out over chaos. Live, Arjun, live for me. And then the demon's form exploded in light. A storm of fire and smoke swallowed Hari, wrapping him in chains of blood-red flame. Arjun's scream tore from his throat. The light burned his eyes, seared his skin, shook his soul. And when it faded, Hari was gone. Only silence remained. The pyre lay in ashes. The circles glowed dim to embers. The demon was gone. The empty dawn. The villagers stood frozen, staring at the scorched earth. Their savior had vanished, swallowed by the curse. The priest dropped his staff, his voice a broken whisper. It is done, the curse is bound again. But Arjun knew better. He fell to his knees, fists pounding the earth. No, no, no! The dawn broke pale and cold, washing the village in gray light. Life returned. The birds sang, the trees swayed, but for Arjun, the world was hollow. Hari had saved him. Hari had damned himself. And deep within the silence, Arjun thought he heard it. A faint whisper carried on the wind. Arjun. The hollow days. The village of Surjapur woke to peace. For the first time in years, the air felt clean, free of whispers. The curse seemed broken. But for Arjun, peace was a wound that never closed. Hari was gone. Days bled into weeks. The villagers rebuilt their homes, lit their lamps without fear. They spoke of Hari as a hero, but their voices carried guilt. They had chosen to sacrifice Arjun, and in the end, it was Hari who bore the burden. Arjun couldn't bear their gratitude. He withdrew, living on the edge of the forest, haunted by dreams where Hari's voice called to him from the shadows. Arjun, don't forget me. Every night, he woke in a sweat, heart racing, feeling as though unseen eyes were watching from the trees. The whispers returned. One night, as the moon hung low and pale, Arjun heard it again, not in a dream, but behind him. Arjun, he spun, torchlight trembling in his hand. Hari. The forest was still. Only the leaves rustled. Then a shape stepped from the dark. A man, tall, shoulders broad, eyes hidden beneath a hood. Arjun's breath caught. He knew that walk, that stance. Hari! He rushed forward, but stopped. The man lifted his head. The face was Hari's, but the eyes were not. They glowed faint red, like dying embers. Arjun staggered back, his heart splitting in two. No, no, it can't be. Hari smiled, not the soft, gentle smile Arjun remembered, but sharp, cold. Why are you afraid, Arjun? Didn't you want me back? The demon's mark. Arjun shook his head, voice breaking. This isn't you. Hari would never. Hari's laugh cut through the night, deep and hollow. Hari is still here, but he is not alone. The trees trembled. Shadows curled at his feet, twisting like serpents. Arjun's torch sputtered. The demon, you didn't destroy it. You. Hari stepped closer, and with every step, the ground blackened. I bound it. I became it. I am the cage, Arjun, and the cage never forgets its prisoner. Tears streamed down Arjun's face. Then fight it. You're stronger than this. For a moment, just a flicker, Hari's eyes softened, his voice breaking. I have tried. Every moment I try, but the more I fight, the deeper it claws. His body trembled, hands clutching his head. Sometimes I can barely tell where I end and where it begins. The demon's voice slipped through his throat, guttural, monstrous. You cannot save him. He is mine. The plea. Arjun's knees buckled. His mind screamed to run, but his heart refused. He dropped the torch and rushed forward, grabbing Hari's arms. Then I'll fight with you. I'll never leave you. Do you hear me? You saved me, Hari. Now let me save you. Hari's body shook violently, torn between two wills. His eyes flickered red, then brown, then red again. His voice broke into two, one human, one monstrous. Leave me. Stay forever. Arjun clung to him, tears burning. I won't let you go. Not to them, not to this curse. You're not alone anymore. For an instant, the forest stilled. The shadows shrank back. Hari's breathing slowed. Arjun! His voice was soft human. If you stay, you'll die. Arjun pressed his forehead against his. Then I'll die with you. The last choice. Hari's hands trembled as they rose to Arjun's shoulders. For a heartbeat, it was just the two of them, as if the world had fallen silent. Then the demon surged. Hari's body convulsed, eyes blazing crimson. The shadows roared back, rising like a storm. His voice split the night. If you truly wish to save me, then end me. Arjun froze, his heart tearing apart. No! Hari's scream was not his own. It was the demon's, but layered with his pain. Take the dagger. Strike my heart before I am gone forever. The ground shook. The trees split. The demon's form clawed its way out of Hari's body. Horns, teeth, eyes burning with rivers of blood. Arjun stumbled back, his hands shaking. His gaze fell to the ground. The dagger Hari had once carried lay there, glowing faintly red. Hari's voice broke through the roar. Human, desperate, please, Arjun, do it. The strike. Arjun picked up the dagger, his body trembling. tears blinding him. He raised it high, every muscle screaming, "Hari, forgive me." The demon roared, its claws reaching. Arjun drove the blade forward. Hari gasped, his eyes widening, not in pain, but in relief. His arms wrapped around Arjun as the dagger pierced his chest. Light exploded. The demon shrieked, a sound that shook heaven and earth. Its body dissolved into smoke and ash, ripped apart by the blood bond. Hari's body collapsed into Arjun's arms. His eyes dim, but his smile was peaceful. "You saved me," he whispered. Arjun sobbed, clutching him tight. No, stay with me. Don't leave." Hari's breath shuddered. His hand brushed Arjun's cheek, weak but gentle. "I was never afraid because I had you." His hand fell, his chest stilled, and the forest was silent. The dawn of silence. Arjun knelt there for hours, cradling Hari's body, as dawn painted the sky. The villagers found him in the morning, broken and covered in blood. They tried to take Hari's body, to bury him as a hero, but Arjun refused to let go. His voice was hoarse, his eyes hollow. Finally, when the sun reached its peak, he laid Hari down upon the earth, pressing his forehead against his still chest one last time. The villagers wept. They built a shrine for Hari, calling him the last guardian. But Arjun never returned to the village. He wandered into the forest, silent, carrying the dagger. Some say he was searching for a way to bring Hari back. Others say he sought to end his own life beside him. But those who pass through Surjapur still whisper. On quiet nights, beneath the pale moon, two voices can be heard in the trees, one calling, one answering, and in the shadows, red eyes watching.